Hey lads, Shoes here from This Irish Life, back again. Episode 5, Part 2, continuing on with our discussion of Lough Corrib in Mayo and the large buildings and the destruction that has been laid on in that area. We left off last time with the Morrigan, Na Marigna, and we're going to carry on with her because I felt she was a little bit rushed for a finish. But we're just going to remember again that the Morrigan from Namarigna, also known as Morrigu, is a triple goddess, and she is represented all across Irish mythology, across all the cycles. And she plays a huge role in the fate of Ireland right up until the Milesians came along. And the Milesians coming along, you can equate probably to Catholics, I would imagine. So, in like when St. Patrick came to Ireland, in my mind, in my timeline, I'm thinking that it was possibly in the maybe the 1500s after the Cataclysm, and when that was part of the colonization. So what seemed to happen was they had some time where they came to the countries. Then in the early 1600s there was major battles all over Ireland and us all over the world in many places. 1600s, then 1700s they started to develop their new legal systems. 1800s almost everything was dug out. 1900s started introducing technology, up to the 2000s where we're at now. So it seems to have been a process of a couple of hundred years for the Milesians, who are essentially the Catholic, I suppose who you look at as the Catholic, but it's not even them, it's I suppose the powers behind them, whoever the Milesians were. And sure, they could just be a section, it could all be sectioned out, you know, maybe it's not all as choreographed as it looks. Certainly, the past seems to have been as haphazard as you can imagine. So, if that's the case, the future and the present is certainly likely to be as haphazard. So, you have Eru, the mother of Bress, the sister of Elaha. Morrigan is described as the envious wife of the Dagda and a shape-shifting goddess, while Bab and Noun were said to be the wives of Net. So Bab and Noun, so Net is also another person who is often swapped with the Dagda, Neit, this guy here. So that's another, so that could be the connection, like Bab and Noun, maybe they were three sisters. Maybe there were three sisters. It wouldn't surprise me if there were. And maybe the Dagda was married to Bab and Noun, but then they were his sisters too, because he was their brother, because Elaha was his dad. Some guy on a cliff that came, not having a good time. You know, a couple of years after Cataclysm, he's like, what just happened? Jeez, everything's wrecked. Head wrecked. Needs a massive shave. I'd love a beard like that. Be nice. Wavy. This fella here. Like the Vikings as well. As he brings to mind Vikings and Normans. That's something that came to mind actually. The Normans, all of their names were like Della Corsi, Della whatever, Della this, Della that. And the Fir Bolg were descended from Della. So, and then you've got Del Bath is the Fomorian. So there's definitely some link between the Normans, so Norman castles, like almost you'd probably say that. We'll have a look at Norman castles at some stage. But Norman castles, you can imagine, were part of this architecture as well and this infrastructure. They're all destroyed as well. So with the Normans, the Firbolg, you know, like bringing it back onto normal history. We have it. I know that it's difficult to do that, but I suppose with names like Della, we'll look at it more deeply when we have the discussion about how many races really were in Ireland. Was there really six, or is it actually just the same handful, the same two or three over a shorter period of time, with stories told in all different ways with different names and changing the people to be mothers and fathers and etc. etc. And this is another thing we're going to discuss at some stage is bridges. This bridge is called the Quiet Man Bridge, and it was part of um, part of was there a movie called The Quiet Man? Is that what it was? So for some reason they filmed a movie here, and it's quite famous. But it's a bridge in the middle of nowhere. These bridges are everywhere. And like we're looking at like canal systems again, so it's a good time to segue, nice segue into canal systems. So we're looking at canals. This was a canal, and take the mud away, take the water away. Imagine like a really bespoke canal system, a really beautiful canal system, right? And then we're going to have a look at Colin's work here. And we're going to bring it back to canals, and we're going to bring it back to the landscape, and we're going to look at what's going on the landscape from this perspective. So what you've got here, this is an excerpt from Colin's website, starforts.org, and it's a section of, it just looks, it's a section, it could be anywhere, it could be a port, it could be a pharmaceutical plant, it could be anything. But it looks very, just Starforty, it certainly is, you know, you can't deny it, it's got all those shapes. But this conversation that we're about to have now is to try and start to distinguish between what's a typical star formation and the other formations of star that are used in paving the landscape, essentially. Like you're canaling the landscape. So imagine canaling everything now. If you canaled everything, and then like think yourself of like all of the underground systems that we have, all of the canals that we already have, all of the rivers, and then you've got these canal systems that work within stars in modern times and become canal systems. So like this obviously does have some dirt on it, and the canal system seem wherever it is, it seems to have been dug out of mud. But a lot of these canal systems are full with mud. Like Spike Island, where Spike Island is the Cork Harbour, the one I showed you, that's covered in mud. Everywhere's covered in mud. They dredged a lot of it to make stuff to be reaccessible. But anyway, so one type of star fort that we look at is the canal system. The entire star civilization was linked together by an enormous and complex system of canals. Right now, enormous and complex. So we're going to have to try and get our heads around this, because really we see countryside when we look at fields. But we're trying to flip our mindset to consider an enormous and complex system of canals. It's not that hard to imagine that if you've got as many canals as we've got, that there's more under the ground. From massive canals that linked major star cities and megalopolis, or megalopoli is that, to comparatively tiny ones that irrigated their crops. They were all part of an intricate, balanced, and extremely effective means of transport and communication. Later, many of the medium-sized and smaller canals were filled in and became the foundations of our road systems today. I must have a look at his star forts on Ireland. He's probably found loads of them. I have to load it into Google Earth though. Find more on starforts.org forum. So, like, this is what we're trying to get our head around. We're trying to imagine that, like this is your local road. It's your local road. Why is your local road so oddly shaped? You know, why does it take so many twists and turns when it could go straight? So that's the canal system. Next up, the field system. I mean, like what you're looking at here is fields. So this is fields. They're all just, and this is what we see in Ireland all over the place. But Colin is proposing that the star sieve field system was stunning. Hard to imagine how it would look originally. So much of it's been destroyed, yet so much still remains. The field they used were works of art, artistically complex and stunningly beautiful. Each region of the star sieve had their own interpretive style, reflecting artistic mindset of the star sieve in that particular part of the world, a world that looked very different to the way it looks today. So I'm not really sure. I haven't looked into these systems, but he's proposing here, like obviously this was part of it. You know, these shapes, these are all walls. It's like in Ireland, they're all walls. Walls everywhere in all odd directions. So he's proposing this was a field system. I don't know what he's saying within the fields. I'm not sure if there was land in the fields or crops or what, but I think that it was definitely heavy masonry everywhere. The wow lines, this is the last one of these, just to get our thoughts on the game. So once again here we see, like, this is a field that has, obviously it has a shape around it, so it's totally covered. But this here, these are lines, I don't know, these actual canals that have water in them, or what, or are they just the walls? But I think that so what he's done is he's pulled the shape out of it, is what he's done, now that I'm looking at it. So what he's done is he's shown that there's a parallel type of, like, this is going out. So this is the star here. So the star is moving out this way, out that way, and it probably continues. So this is what we're looking at, that this is actually the landscape of the land when you look down upon it, which is mind-blowing. And I've only just come across this, like, since I started doing these videos, to be honest. Like, I always assumed that there was something under there, but I didn't realize that all the work had been done. So hopefully with this in mind, it's going to give us an idea as we come to look at the land of Ireland, give us a bit of an idea of what we're looking at. The Wren Din Shankas, that's the book of Old Irish Tales. One of the many books. So we're going to line up a trip down into some fields, is what we're going to do. I'm going to get back to where I'm meant to be, but I'm not going to bore you with, this is a Knowth, by the way. I never really discussed it. It pops up now and then, but I'm even looking at these fields here in Knowth. I mean, like, that's that pattern that he was discussing. It kind of, it's just star, 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 star. You know, as in it just goes out like that, obviously. See through that it worked. And this here is the top of probably some sort of a star. Seeing as they're everywhere. So I'm looking to drop down today into a region that I haven't looked at and I haven't got back to it. And we're going to have a wander through it. It's going to be the region of Mayo and Sligo. And we're going to have a look at the land, and we're going to have a look at maybe a couple more castles. And we're probably going to look at the landscape and consider what was going on with it. So we're going to drop straight down in here. So this is where the battle took place at Moytura. This is going to be a very rugged, we're going for a trip here now, and we're going to have a look. All right, so don't expect any pictures for a while. So this is Killala, And there used to be land. This used to be a great lake here as well. So this is the lake that fell off. This is Lough Key. These all have structures in them. I actually found a Starford looking structure over here. I'm not going there yet. They're everywhere. They're literally everywhere. It's hilarious. So we're going to drop down and we're going to, like, this is the plain. This is the plain. This lad here, this is Carrickeel. Carrickeel Passage Tombs. So before we drop down to Carrickeel Passage Tombs, we are going to look at some pictures because it makes it way better. So this is the land of the battle that took place. So this is on top of a big mound. We're going to wonder, is that mound, is there something under it? Like, is this actually, this very much looks like a piece of masonry here. Now, I've never seen this before in my life. My first time seeing it. I always thought Carrickeel Tomb was just a big pile of stones. We've got this thing here. Fantastic photos. So look, here is the big pile of stones with an entrance going into it. You look up here, you know, is like, that looks like masonry there now. Like, is this, you know, a building that's shattered? Is that what that is? Is that the top of a building that's been obliterated? But somehow some big stones have managed to stay intact, you know? Like, what's going on in here? I mean, what was this thing? Like, are these the I don't know what the story is behind these in the mythology. The tombs, like most of the mounds, they say are attributed to giants and gods being buried in them. And they make it out like it's all about like aligning with the sun, which it probably was aligned with the sun. But here, look, these are walls here, you know, as far as I can see. I mean, I'm not on the ground. I don't know. We'll have a look there now in a minute. Maybe we'll get a good look. Carrickeel. You know, like, is this a structure? Like, was this a building? I mean, look at this. And are there more buildings under the ground? And it's all just covered. That looks like a mountain. Anyway, it doesn't look like masonry. Any more pictures that are worth looking at? That one's a nice one to look at. It's just like an entrance, and then there's more here, you know. These are all just mounds. So what's under these mounds? I mean, I'm sure if you were to look around here, you'd find plenty of walls under the ground without much effort. And here are the mounds here. Look at these mounds. Look at them. Loads of mounds. Just lots of mounds here. Like, are these, what was going on? Like, this is up quite high as well. This is a high mound. Is there something under this mound? Like, what are the tunnels? Like, there's tunnels into it. Essentially, they're souterrains. Do you know? This person here is in one. She's delighted. She's like, what's going on here? I'm like, what's going on here? Fantastic that these photos are available. You don't even need to look for them. Brilliant. Like, what's going on here now? Is this down low? You're going down. Is that burned? You know, is that very dirty? So cool that there's so many pictures. I don't believe it. Is this from Google? Brilliant, absolutely amazing. Like the internet, you can't give out about the internet and technology all the time. Everything is good and bad at the same time. You use it for the best purposes that you can. And this is just amazing to be able to do this. I mean, we're looking inside like this, and this is underground. So we're going to fly back out again because we'll be here all day. I just get absolutely fascinated by this. And we're going to pan down into the plane ourselves. We're going down into the plane. And so, like, you've got all these mountains here, right? So what we're now saying is, right, okay, mountains, yes, maybe. Is there a possibility that there is structures under these, like with something dumped on them? Just bloop, dumped on. What's going on up there? the whole other world up there, you know. Mad, there's just so much, it's just amazing. So I'm going to come in from this angle. We've got Boyle down here, so we've got the cathedral in Boyle, or the Abbey in Boyle, you might remember. We've got Lough Key here, or Castle Island here, so all this is going on. So we've got masonry all over the place here, stuff under the ground, and then we've got Carrickeel passage tombs. Are they called a tomb because people are actually entombed in them? They dropped a load of shite on top of them, excuse my language. I need to get down here onto the land before I start doing that. So I'm going to take it from like this side here. Like I really want to get an idea of like where are these cairns? Where are the rocks on top of the mountain is what I want to know. Am I going to get to see some rocks or don't we see any? Let's have a look. Did the disappear? So this is where the tombs are meant to be. There we go. Oh yes. Jeez, they're so big. It's crazy. So we're looking down here. So Carrickeel Passage Tombs. And it's just splodge. Like really. It's just got me thinking as to whether this is a natural formation or not. I'm going to come at it from the other side. This is an in the map session with shoes. We're looking at some passage tombs in Carrickeel. And we're just going to look at some land here as well. We're going to sit for a moment. And we're just going to look at that. And we're going to remember, we're going to look at the land and think about the patterns that radiate out. Like this certainly looks, it just doesn't look natural to me, you know. I think I've seen even just look so splodgy and so, but it could definitely, I suppose, like, I mean, it could be, you could be looking at the remains of a tree root or a tree stump. There's certainly that possibility if you're buying into that, theory, the giant tree theory. So there's definitely a possibility that that is the case, no doubt, and I wouldn't dispute that. But I'm just trying to look at all options. I know some of them can sound wild, but this whole thing is wild. So I'm looking at this there now, right? And I'm excited to look at it as a fortress, and I'm bored to look at it as a tree stump, if you know what I mean. So as a fortress, I'm looking at it going up and up and up and up and up. And the tombs were entrances to the fortress. And if it was a fortress, I mean, this is going down here. So this is down here. So if it was a gigantic fortress, let's say this area was Fomorians and they actually had some serious fortresses, because we don't see this over in Meath, you know. I mean, if there is something, if this actually is a massive fortress, it's huge, you know. But you've seen them in the Middle East, you know. You've seen the mountains that are just dotted with this type of, you know, just mountainous fort. I mean, here we're looking, I know that's a road there now, but the roads follow the walls, as I was saying. So that's coming out there. And this is Carrickeel. This is where, so this was a major point of the battle. So the Battle of Moytura took place majorly here. This was where all the fighting was happening, for the most part, what the stories tell. So, like, it's fun to consider that this was a fort. I don't know, was it? I think there's a potential that, yes, it could have been. Just because I've seen, like in the Middle East, just cities, there's just stuff dumped on top of them, like mountains as well, mountainous cities. Um, just dirt and sand dumped on top of them. I know in the Vedas there's a tale in the Hindu mythology. There's a story that talks about them dumping a load of dirt on top of a city. So they talk about it in the myths, and we're in the lands of myths here. We are suspending belief of normality for a moment, and we are in the land of myths. Even here, look, check this out. Now this I find unusual, and the reason why is that paths are a fantastic indicator of the shape of the wall below it. And the reason I say that is because I go running in forests, and I have noticed that the paths that the animals use in the forest is generally the top of the walls that are underneath the ground. So some walls you can see, other walls you can't. But when you follow paths in a rugged area where it looks like there's no rhyme or reason to it, oftentimes the path can be following a pre-existing retaining wall of some sort that was underneath. I'm not saying it in all cases, but it can be a good indicator sometimes of where to keep your eyes. I mean, you're looking at this shape here. Look at this. Like, that is a perfect straight line. Like they say that's through the bog now, and I'm sure it is through the bog. But I just want to know, is that like an old road? Like when I look along here, you see, I'm going to come back out to an above view for a moment, because I really want to make the point that roads have walls beside them nearly always. Irish roads. I don't know, is this a road that you can drive on, or is this a bog road? But it's very straight, and it seems to have bushing beside it. Can I drop the guy down there? If I could drop the guy down there now, that would blow the mind. The guy can't go down there. Where can the guy go? Can I drop him on top of... Can I drop him up here somewhere, I wonder? Come on, man. Come on, man. So even looking at this, obviously I can't drop them up here. They won't let me. But look at the top. Like, I've got resolution here now. And this is the top of Carrowkeel, Mayo. And like this, I suppose they're saying this is bogland. This is bog. Yeah. Drive into the bog really straight. Yeah, fair enough. You probably could drive in really straight. But do you drive on the old path is the question. So that is Carrowkeel, okay? So you're looking at, like, so this site here, Carrowkeel, this was part of the battle. This area here got obliterated. Loch Arrow is where the battle happened. Second Battle of Moytura, Loch Arrow, beside Loch Arrow. So we're probably talking about this spot was hit hard. We're going to pop over here. I don't know where this is, but we're going to have a look at this too. And we've got a couple of funny mounds. And it just, I like the idea of giant trees. And I like the fun of it. And I like the way it can describe the landscape. But I am also of the mind that the giant trees got all cut down, according to the stories and the myth and the legend and the lore. And then they paved everything. So they made it like Asgard. So they made everything like a big massive star fort. But all the land, like canals in between, but everything else was fortified. So you can only reach one city to the other. And I discussed this in the earliest video, in the first one, that it was a canal civilization, that it was canals everywhere. The water levels of the whole world were lower, and that the rivers weren't as high. So that makes me really wonder that, like, was there anything left to mine? Was there any roots left? Or as what we see as mountains actually piles of dirt that were dumped on top of existing structures? Because look at this, like this actually looks like I mean, are you seeing this? Are you seeing what I'm seeing here? You know, I mean, like I'm very sure that I'm not seeing things, but like here's the outside part. Like one, two, and three, four, you know? Uh, it really does look like there's just something massive buried under here, you know? And that this is one part of the fort. This is another part of the fort. And this is the other part of the fort. It just like what is the name of this place even? I don't even know where this place is. This is the first time I've seen this, and it just blows my mind when I look at it. Um, Keshkaran Caves then. Ah, would you look at that? Caves there for us to explore then. So there's a cave system in here. And as I said earlier, when you're looking for hidden infrastructure, cave systems are a big, big flag. So we're going to dip into the cave system here. And my mind is already blown. Like this is a cave. Like that looks kind of gothic, doesn't it? This is all covered in dirt. Um, this, this is just the most epic adventure ever. Look at this. Oh my god. Well, that does it for me almost there now. Like if these are caves along here, I mean there's a very good chance that there's a structure under here. Very good chance. But sure, are they actually saying that that is not a structure? They're saying that that's a natural formation. I don't believe it. That like this is 100% a massive structure with masonry. It just has it's changed form, covered in mud, and entrances all along it. Like how is that a cave and how is that not um, a structure, a piece of masonry? Like you know, caves. That is. Oh, my mind is blown. My mind is blown. Don't even know where this is. There's a Celtic cross somewhere along here as well, which would indicate there was civilization. These pictures are just amazing. And then, right, so this will be a segue into the next episode, I think. We'll finish this one up soon. My mind is way too blown. How long have we got? 34 minutes. Sure, it'll probably take me 15 minutes to wrap up. So we're looking here from wherever it was that we are, Keshkaran Caves, Keshkaran, which is actually a giant structure. And we're looking across over at what I'm pretty sure is Ben Bulben, which is a tabletop mountain. So originally I would have said giant tree all day long, giant tree that was cut off. Now I am going over there to Ben Bulben to look for caves, and I'm going over there to look for signs that what we're looking at right now is potentially a massive megastructure. So these megastructures seem to have been everywhere. But this was the Fomorian stronghold. This was where the Fomorians did battle. So this is where they must have been. And that's what we're looking at. Ben Bulben. Ben Bulben. Good old Ben. Is there any other cool picture I can find here before I sign out? Something there to just blow my mind another level. Like, this is block, lads. This is block. This is not a natural formation. So once again, like, they're telling us that it clearly a piece of masonry is a natural formation. This here is a wall, probably. I've seen enough walls in my time. Look at this. This is a wall. I mean, like, maybe they say it is a wall. Maybe I'm jumping the gun. I don't know anything about this place apart from that I just jumped in, and it's called Keshcoran Caves, and it's outside Carrickeel, and it looks like a gigantic star fort. Apart from that, I don't know anything about it. And my overexcitement, like, look at this here again, like, just blocks in the ground, bits of block. So all the pictures are the same people taking the same pictures. All this is covered. We've got a lake here, so this dips down here. So, like, if you think about it, you've got these star patterns dipping down into different areas. So let's think about that, like where a lake was, maybe maybe they didn't even need to quarry the stuff. Maybe they just made it. And what we're doing is we're quarrying their old rock. Maybe that's what we're quarrying. Are we quarrying their blocks in our quarries? And there was no such thing as limestone. And literally the only reason there's limestone is because they paved the whole country with limestone. And now we're quarrying the limestone to remake our own cement because we don't know how to make the cement that they used to make all of this stuff. Is that what's going on? Because that's what it looks like to me. That's what it looks like to me, man. Yeah, my mind is just blown here. I actually can't believe it. I really can't. I'm finding star forts buried under bogs and under just mud and mountains, and, like, it's just mind blowing. Just mind blowing. So we're gonna have one final look before we go, because this was an exceptionally exciting dip into the plane, and I can't wait to see more because I didn't even realize I was actually kind of not looking forward to it. I put it off there a couple of times. I went to Loch Corrib a minute ago, and I was kind of like, oh, cairns and passage tombs, are they that exciting? But every time I think something's not exciting, like, the less exciting a thing is, the more allure it seems to have to it, you know? So potentially, right, what we're looking at, to recap, we're looking at probably a large structure here, some sort of fortress that's covered in rock now, rock and dirt. I don't know how much rock is here. It might just be mud that's covering it, and then people are just ignoring the rock, but I couldn't see any rock there. Can I drop myself on top there? Well, that would be nice as a finish. If I could just see maybe a wall or two or something, just to get some final confirmation. He's like, no! Is he gonna go? Can he go? No way. That is mad. Is it gonna actually leave me here? That is ridiculous. Google Maps is so cool. It'll actually let me have a walk. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. So this is Carrickeel Passage Tomb. It's certainly not a passage tomb from what I can see. It is a large structure, a gigantic structure. So we really have to park the giant tree root idea at the moment. Not that I was pushing it, but I just think it's a bit of fun. So So this structure looks out at this. So this would be a terrace as well. So see this path here now. There's a very good likelihood that there's a wall under here, right? So the way paths seem to work is that they cut a path, and at the edge of the path is usually a wall. So if you dug down here, you'd probably find a wall. And that's what retains the path, and it's what stops all these paths from falling down, you know. Whether you're in the forest or whether you're in the mountains or wherever. So there's just a strong, like, see this little part here, that this is actually, you know, under here, there's probably masonry sloping down that way at the angle, like we see. It is very Star Fortress, the same here, sloping down at the angle, even there. Like, this is an angled part of it. And, you know, that's probably what you've got. Is that the end of the walk? Is that as far as you can go? But that's Carrickeel, you know, that's Carrickeel. What's that about there now? Will that bring me down the road a little bit? No way. You can just press that. So, Carrickeel, oh, look at this. Would you look? So, like, looking over there, I can't see, but I know enough to know that there's a very good chance that that's a wall and not limestone. Looking at this, it's just all so flat. I would have said it was quarried out before or something, but now I'm just thinking there's got to be, like, it's just too unnatural looking. Like along here, like this is a wall. Here is a wall. Like that's a wall. It's a bit of masonry, and that's what I was saying earlier. That, like, if you look at the paths, usually the paths and the roads, they'll have a wall. Like this is the other wall here. Look, see it? You can see it popping up out from under the dirt, but you just never notice. You just never notice it. But it's there all the time, and we just grow up with it. But it's everywhere, which is why it's so well hidden. I'm just trying to get one look over here, if possible. It's such an epic journey. It's a shame. Can I? Oh, no way I can. That is gas. I can actually zoom in. Like, so is this a wall? Is this a wall at the top of, or towards the top of Carrickeel, or not at the top of it? But, like, I've seen these formations in the middle of Cork. Like this definitely looks like a load of dirt now. Not a load of dirt, a load of mud. Sorry, mud turned to stone. But then again, how can that be one thing and the other be another? You just don't know. You'd have to be there. And they do change form, you know. Just because it doesn't look like stone now doesn't mean that it's not stone, you know. That's pretty cool, I must say. Now, I did not expect that. I did not expect most of the stuff I found while doing this, to be honest with you. I just had an urge to get it done, so I started. And if we're looking over here, like you're talking all this area here now, you'd have to be saying, like, what's in here? What's this other place? That's Carrickeel, that's Keshcarn. You've got something small in here as well. It's got to be another high structure, you'd imagine. But we're not going to go into it right now. But we might do a quick look at all three of them together, because that could be kind of cool, just to get an idea of. And as you can see, like, all this landscape here, it's got pieces popping out of it. And these are like what are called the souterrains. Like, that's like Tara there. You've got the double rings. And then if you went through like the McGibney thing, so you've got star, 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 star. Do you know? All going out. You could probably do that with it. It's just mind blowing. That's Loch Arrow. So Loch Arrow, we never really looked at Loch Arrow. Maybe we'll look at that in a later episode. But I'm sure there's structures here. Like Loch Arrow was probably the center of the whole civilization. Just obliterated. Dropped a load of muck all over them. So, like that. I get it now. You need to get down lower to understand the level of the height. I'm getting better. I'm getting better. Well, that's amazing. Like even here, like this drops. Like there's a drop here. And I see this all over the place. Like they put a bit of forestry along it. And there's a big, huge drop in the land. But that's actually the drop from one level of the fort down to the next. You know? One level of the star. I don't even know what to call it. Know what I mean? Like, look at this. It's just, and that one's much higher. Keshkaran. Got a lake here. So is this part of the original canal then? So like you would have had, this is the top, and then you would level 2, and you would level 3, and then between level 2 and 3, there was the gap between the two of them, which would have gone around in the water. Well, that's actually a shadow. It's not even a canal, is it? Is that a shadow? Oh yeah. Like what? The shape is just fascinating. And look, oh, there we go now. Like you can really see here what's been going. Like it comes up. This is the angle. I need to remember this angle. Look at this there. That's flat. I mean, here you're looking at fortress, 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 all along the land. Fortress, fortress. Stepping up. So on from the lake, starts at the lake. Steps up one level, steps up another level, steps up another level, steps up another level, and another level, and another level, and another, and another. That is like is the shadow is doing it. You can see it because of the shadow. Like I don't know, are you seeing what I'm seeing, but like I'm just seeing the potential for a gigantic fortress. All this area. Like there could be just underground stuff all here. Like they talk about the underground that is everywhere. And you know, if there's fortresses, like if this is actually a fortress, like maybe it's not fully this size, but like the rest of the landscape is down low. So there's no reason to think that the inside of this, if there was something big here, isn't hollowed out somewhat. Jesus, it's a big speculation, isn't it? I suppose it's not as big a speculation as people saying that giants are people. So at least it's a bit less outrageous than that. Only slightly though. There's gigantic fortresses in the middle of Mayo there. What's that? Oh yeah, loads of them. Just looking on Google Maps, you see them all. It's like where? The mountains. Oh right. Last thing you think of is that a mountain could be a fortress. I'm not saying it is, but I'm saying to me that it looks very suspicious altogether. Like even here, look at these little patterns along here. Is that going to buffer for me now? I'm impressed. Okay, so with that, I think we're going to end this one. I did want to see, is there any abbeys or anything anywhere? There doesn't seem to be anything close. Boyle Abbey, I think, is the closest abbey. Way, look at that. I mean, could you imagine? Battle. All here. Crazy fucking Star Wars movie style stuff. Crazy, man. And then the lakes. like imagine all of this being lower, and the lakes were even, like they were probably paved. Like there was stuff going on in the lakes. They were part of it. They weren't filled with water, these lakes. Like this whole area had something. It was all, I don't know what was going on, but it was concrete everywhere anyway, from what I can see. It is concrete everywhere, you can see it. You just can't see under the concrete. So I think with that, I think I'm going to leave it there, unless I see an Abbey before I leave. Where is Boyle Abbey before I leave? What are we on? 50 minutes. Time just disappears. Boyle Abbey is probably down here, I'd say. This is Lough Key. Boyle Abbey down here. Very cool. So with that, I'm going to end this video. It has been an amazing journey. Absolutely blew my mind. Do you know what? We won't put that there. I'm going to talk out on this screen, I think. We're going to finish on this screen. I was trying to fix it up. Wreck it then. So, absolutely mind-blowing stuff. We're looking at finding mega structures underneath the mountains and the bogs of Ireland. Absolutely everywhere. And it's just it's a never-ending mind blow is what it is. Boyle Abbey. It really is, and I'm excited to bring it. I don't know where it will end up going, where it will end, but it is great fun, and I hope that you are enjoying it too, and that you're coming along the journey. I know we didn't have much mythology today. We'll pick up some mythology the next day, and maybe we'll get a bit deeper into the mythology and try and put some sense around some of the gods and the goddesses. And we'll have a look over, I think, at some other areas of Mayo and Sligo. So we're actually going to come back over to this part, and we're going to look at Benbulben and this area here, which is already looking suspect. But this is very, very, we looked at it briefly one day. So with that, I'm going to get going. Thanks very much. And think good thoughts, everyone. It's good for your health. See you in the next one.